Unfortunately, U.S. manufacturing technology orders seem to be following the weather patterns through the Midwest and Northeast, and we're going to tell you what that forecast means to you. Hi, I'm Pat McGibbon, and I'm here to talk about the U.S. Manufacturing Technology Orders Report for October. Like the season, it was really kind of nice in October relative to September. In fact, October orders were up about 2% from where they were in September. But when you take the entire first 10 months of 2019 compared to the first 10 months of 2018, we've actually slid about 18.4%. Now that's 0.2% worse than what we did through the first 9 months. So we are on a trajectory to meet that forecast we've been making since late 2018, that 2019 orders will be 20% down from where they were in 2018. So since it's the holiday season, I'm going to focus on the winning areas as opposed to some of the ones that had a little bit more of a challenge in October than they had in September. Let's start with regions. The North Central West and the North Central East regions were the only two regions that had positive growth October over September. And I'm going to focus on the East part of that set of regions because North Central East had double-digit growth. It was very, very nice. And what led it was the automobile industry, another good story as well. Some very big stamping lines, orders for presses, as well as some significant movement in investments in the powertrain part of the automobile industry, what drove automobiles up in that particular region. Right behind them, aerospace. And this is unusual because aerospace as a whole for the nation was down, but in the North Central East, it actually was up fairly significantly. And then finally, the electrical equipment industry, things like switchboards, switch gears, but this was off the charts relative to where it had been for the last 4 months. Now, when you take it to a national level and look at it by industry, again, the auto industry was the big leader. It had a big bounce in October. On a national level, it was led by powertrains instead of stamping, but the stamping industry still had some significant growth, even larger than what was going on in the North Central East by dollar volume, not by percentage growth. The second biggest industry as far as growth in October was the industrial machinery sector. That's where you've got woodworking equipment, construction equipment, but the two that really were pushing the envelope for growth in October relative to September were the refinery equipment industry and the food processing machinery industry. And then following behind those two, automotive and industrial machinery, was the HVAC industry. Really strong growth in the October relative to September, and very strong particularly in the forming and fabricating part of our order takes. Job shop industry, I wouldn't want to leave it off because it has a very interesting story. It's come down over the last several months from being nearly 40% of the total to being slightly less than 35% of total orders on a national basis. This is not bad because on a typically good year, they're around 28 to 30% of all orders. So they're moving back to their norm. And what this means and what really actually happened in October is that as they are playing less of a role, some of the big names, Lear Seating, Magna, Lindomar, are actually beginning to make acquisitions instead of putting more of their business into job shops. So they're balancing. And as a result, everyone in October was in the market, but I think we see a turning of events here because as we move towards November, I heard that November was very, very soft. Almost nobody in play. And as we look at what's happening with quotation activity and hence what we'll see with actual November orders and what's going to happen in December, we're going to see that this is the larger players that are making the inquiries about what's going to be the prices and how long for deliveries. And that typically means to me that they're the ones asking the questions. They're the ones that are going to be doing the buying as well. So we're probably going to see a shift. Job shops will probably fall back into that regular position of being 28 to 30%. And we're going to see the big tier 1, 2 suppliers to most of the other major industries beginning to make investments they've been holding off on for months, maybe even quarters. And it may be tied to the fiscal year. I'm not sure. We'll check into that and get back to you about that next month when we talk about USMTO. October was a very warm time. November, just like the weather around the Midwest and Northeast, had a cold freeze coming through it. And we're beginning to see some thaw in December. Now, it's not a return to the times of 2018, but it's a good way to end the year, it sounds like. So hopefully we bring better news to you next month when we come to talk about what happened with U.S. manufacturing technology orders during the holiday season. Till then, have a great holiday season.